Terrain. I never look forward to this teaching of Terrain. Terrain's always been a very, very buggy thing with the new UDK. And trust me when I say, I've been around with the UDK. In fact, if you go here to the UDK development kit, you can see that I've kept up on my updates. There's no doubt about it. But I even date back further than that. In UT3, it was even buggy. So it's always been buggy. If you have a video card that was crap, you now have an even crappier video card. I have a NVIDIA Quattro 1800, and still there's some times where I just want to throw Terrain Editor right out the window and never use it again. That being said, we do use Terrain a lot, and you have to learn what Terrain is. There are some things that you have to know about it ahead of time. One, when you get it too complex, that's when it fails. And if you keep jumping in and out of Terrain Editor half the time, that's when it crashes too. So I just want to put that out as a disclaimer that it is quite buggy. It's never been quite right. And if you are a fortunate individual that has some kind of godly video card that can run it, that's amazing for you. Thanks. But here is new Terrain. So we're going to cover a very small patch of Terrain. That way it doesn't crash so much. 16 by 16. Hit finish. Okay, not to be found on any radar. If you go into the top view, you can barely see it. It's gray until you click on it, and it starts out in the center of the world. So what we need to do is start it right in the middle of the light mass square. So here's my light mass. Here's this. All right. Rule number 2, save often. Save often. So I'm going to save every chance I get. Right click, play from here. Let's find out what this animal is and how big it is. Okay, a 16 by 16 square, just to put it in perspective. If I go from one end to the other end, you'll see that a 16 by 16 is pretty freaking big, considering you can run like 1,000 miles an hour in Unreal. And yeah, this is a pretty big area. Now that's not what's going to crash it. The size of it doesn't really matter, but keeping it within light mass really does help. Let's go into the editor of Terrain. Okay. Now, if you have a secondary monitor, that would be a good time to use it. You put this over there on the secondary monitor, and that's where it stays open. Don't keep opening and closing it. You will regret it. Now, what we want to do is de-uglify the area. Quite bad. So in this area, we have this ugly texture. This is the qualifying texture that comes with all Terrain. Just a little bit of a history here. I have these tools, and the one you're going to be using most is the paint. Here is strength, radius, and fall off. If I have radius up, okay, let me turn it down just a little bit more. Okay, see that red dot in the center? That's indicating where a vertex is. Okay. If I turn fall off up, you can see now I have a red dot and an area in the center. Fall off is just the tapering between on and off. Okay. What we want is just straight on, so I can show you how this works. So if I hold Control and left mouse, it allows me to do this. Ooh, a bump. If I hold Control and right mouse, it does this. Ooh, a dent. Now, remember, a player, let's say if I make this dent too big, and then I go play from here, this is a huge hole. And once you're in it, you're in it. Okay? So just make sure that when you are making terrain and you are, creating it, beware of those holes. Another thing to be wary of is if you play from here, look what happens to the sky. Watch the sky very closely. Okay? The sky's moving, but I can't move. I'm in this pit and I can't move at all. Sometimes the sky drags out. There's an area down here below. See that red line? Yes, that red line. Notice it for a second that the terrain is going underneath that red line quite a bit. Once it hits that red line, you can't move. So, a way to counteract that is go back to camera, grab this, and move it up. Okay? Past the red line. Now, when you go play from here, let me get above the mesh. Let's watch what happens when I'm in the hole now. I can actually move around. I can barely get out, but I can move now. That's a good thing. Alright, so that's one thing to be aware of. Again, save. Cool. Let's go back into the editor and learn a little bit more. Let's de-uglify it in this video, and then we'll go on to the next video. So the first thing you want to do is find a material. We already know a material that's pretty cool, so rock. So here's a material. We were using that for the cave. Let's use it for the ground now. So let's click on it, and then right-click here on height map, and say new terrain setup layer from material auto create. Okay, what did it just do? Well, it went out and it made two things in my content browser. It put it in unit for Jason Welsh, and these are now materials. Okay, what else did it do? Well, it populated the world with that new material. Alright, so that's just the general setup of it, and just know that everything in here has a lot to do with holding control with left mouse and holding control with right mouse. We'll go into a lot more, but this is the starter video for it. You should get to this point and then move on to the next video.